We are pleased to welcome Thu Trang Vo, a research associate in process engineering at the Technical University Bergakademie Freiberg in Germany. And Trang used imaging facilities across the Excite network to advance her research on particle breakage. And she was drawn to research because it allows her to work internationally with people from different cultures and mindsets. And this offers really a level of freedom and exchange that continues to inspire her work. Her research interests span a wide range of imaging topics with a focus on particle characterization. She also enjoys exploring studies on animal testing in CT, even though it lies outside her primary field at the moment. In today's webinar, she will share her tips and tricks for in-situ compression in X-ray computed tomography and showing how real-time 3D visualization is transforming our understanding of fracture mechanisms. And we are thrilled to have Trang share her experiences with us today. So Trang, the floor is yours.
Thank you for this really extended introduction. Okay, then I will switch to our little presentation. I hope you guys can see my presentation.
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment?
No.
Okay.
Try again.
Yes, now we have it. Okay, how about now?
Yes, all set.
Okay. Then welcome to our webinar. So my name is Trang, and I work in the field of breakage, all about breakage of slags, to be honest. So in the beginning, I basically have an intact sample, then we have to break it, and then we will analyze it. And we will face some challenges, and these challenges can be overcome with some tips and tricks. And I hope it will be a little bit helpful for you guys. I hope that I inserted things that might interest you. I did not insert my results because that might go too deep. But of course, feel free to ask me any questions about my research. So what's so interesting about compression? So first of all, usually we compress particles so that we can liberate our target materials. These are usually locked in our minerals or other ores, but for me, my material is slag. And I need to know what kind of target materials do I have, whether or not I can see it in the CT, how does it look like before and after breakage, and how I can even quantify my breakage afterwards so that I can tell whether or not my initial microstructure was good for our breakage itself. Was it economical? Did we use a lot of energy? And if we could liberate our target mineral or not. And these 4 quarters are the 4 quarters that are not really related to each other, but still I have to correlate them to get my answer on how it breaks and if our target material is liberated or not. So just for you guys to see how my material usually looks like. So I have different kind of microstructures, and these microstructures need different kind of treatment when it comes to sample preparation, when it comes to image processing. It will get more and more complex when we also have cracks that appear. So our first tip when it comes to sample preparation is make your sample as easy as possible so that in the end your image processing is not that hard. And for me, it was cylindrical formed, so that I, in the end, know what kind of fractures or fragments I can get, because at least I know how the outer form of my initial particle looks like. And I also wanted to reassemble them. So imagine I have a lot of fragments, and these fragments needs to be puzzled back again, because I also wanted to know where my fracture surfaces lays within the initial particle. So there will also be some virtual reassembling ongoing, and that's why I needed to know the initial borders. Okay, so about the experimental setup, I think most of this is very straightforward, but whenever I meet a new person working with me with the in-situ compression cell, I realize that it's not as easy as I expected, and sometimes I do remember how it was when I started. First of all, what kind of pistons do you want to use to compress your particles so that it breaks? And for me, I used ceramic pistons, and they are made out of silicon nitride. And since I will put these ceramic pistons into my load cell, and the load cell itself is quite a big thing already and can also attenuate a lot of X-rays, I expect my compression pistons to not attenuate much X-rays further. Also, it has to be harder than your sample, because if not, then you're not crushing your sample will crush your pistons. In the beginning, it's also important for your sample to be in the center of your pistons, and this requires a little bit of non-shaky hand. By the way, on this picture, this is Matthäus, my last collaboration partner. And we realized we should not drink coffee before we center our samples because of shaky hands. And with our samples being in the center, that means if we crush it, the load is not distributed to our guiding tube or to our ceramic piston. So we want our whole load to be on our sample and not elsewhere. That's why our sample has to be in the center. Afterwards, we set a small force onto the sample before we close the whole setup of our load cell. So our load cell consists of the pressure monitoring device and the cap, and inside of it there were these pistons that we have seen here, and inside our pistons we have our sample. And we have to close everything, and then before we even mount our load cell onto the CT, we should set a small force, because our little sample could move, and then it will touch either the wall, which would be the least of our problems. The biggest problem would be if our pistons will be tilted, and then we cannot start any compression experiment. So I also had a nice photo of Matthäus looking at his tilted sample, also of me, but I didn't find my picture and I didn't ask Matthäus, so that's why no funny picture for the tilted sample for today. So after we mounted the load cell, we tried to set our measurement parameters. And these are usually decided by the geometrical optical arrangement of the source, sample, and the detector in our CT. With our load cell, as you can see, it's a quite big device. Even though our sample might be very small, but our device is now the decisive limitation to reach a good resolution. And at first we had this load cell with a shorter cap, I would say, and we had to buy a new cap so that we can raise the black part, which is the carbon fiber part, the less attenuating part, and also the part where we should see our sample higher, so that we can move our source nearer to our sample and get a bit better image quality. Then, after we mounted everything correctly and turned on our X-ray source, we should check if our sample is still in the correct position or not by looking at the projection images. Also, at this point, it's good to know if your sample is the sample that you really want to measure or not. In my case, I usually see a nice contrast in my samples. Also, I can see very clearly my sample in my load cell, which means, okay, the ceramic guiding tube and the piston did not attenuate too much of our X-rays. But in case you have a very low attenuating sample, you might not see your sample that much anymore. So you need contrast agents. So this would be the time to demount the whole thing again and improve the projection image by, contrast agents, for example, if possible. Also check if the sample is correct. If you have big pores, this might influence your breakage result a lot. Depends on what you really want to analyze. Choose your sample well, especially when you have the opportunity to look into it without destroying it. Yeah, and then you just start your compression experiment, and I usually break it until I compress it until I can see some changes, and then I use these measurements to qualify or quantify. Okay, then the next part is more about image processing, because measurement-wise, you cannot do wrong that much unless you are a little bit forgetful. Everything else is really dependent on image processing, and especially when it comes to cracks, the processing of cracks do need some tricks now. So just about segmentation for now. So when I wanted to segment my samples, I only wanted to say that my sample is consistent of pores, my target material, and the non-target material, which I call matrix. And then there's the background. And usually the background is air, like the crack and the pores. So I really try first with 3 classes so that I don't overwhelm any segmentation tool. And then I checked which segmentation tool was the best for me. And I had some criteria. For example, it would be nice that we are segmenting, not just target and matrix, so that we also see the cracks as good as possible, especially fine cracks. These are really prone to partial volume effect and might lead to incorrect segmentation. And that incorrect segmentation means you cannot analyze this data set. Also, this segmentation tool should be able to segment all images in one stack, and it should not take too much time and effort. And it would be nice that features that are connected in the next image are considered. Most of the times, especially when you use, for example, Fiji, when you load in your images as an image stack, it will see these images as independent and not connected to each other. And for me, after trying out a lot of stuff, it was elastic. But I also would like to show you why it was elastic and not the other things. So I will leave out thresholding because this is quite clear. Thresholding just considers a certain gray value, and if you have partial volume effect and you want to have cracks and target and matrix material separated, you should not really use thresholding for fracture analysis. So for example, I had my first tool was VG Studio, which is a visualization and analysis tool for 3D images. And most of my colleagues used it for pore characterization, but it used, well, for segmentation, there was not much except you choose the gray values. So it would be really good to visualize when you have your finished segmented image, but more than visualization, I couldn't, analyze anything in VG Studio, even though it should be possible. It does make nice images, and you can still see the fracture surface in it. So for qualitative analysis, it's perfect already. Then after I tried, the thresholding, which is not really machine learning based, I wanted to use some of these advanced segmentation tools. And one of the popular ones is free in Fiji, and it's called trainable Vika segmentation. There you need to pre-process your image a lot before you even segment it. Pre-processing is, for example, denoising, enhancing the contrast, use the unsharp mask so that you can enhance the borders of your particles so that it has a higher contrast to the background, for example, before you even load your image into Vika segmentation. And it has many segmentation options. Well, each option is very sensitive, by the way. It can change your image a lot. Although if you use the current settings on your on the same sample, it will give you the same result. So it will not give you a different result, but if you try to transfer the same settings and label your classes, gray value classes again, then the result is very fluctuating. Also, I really love to have live segmentation. So for example, you label your gray values. So mid gray is target in my case. The lighter gray was matrix, and the dark gray for me was cracks. Whenever I clicked on classify, I have to wait a long time before it got segmented, and it's not even that good. So that's why I had to find another tool. And I also used Dragonfly. It also took me a long time. It does have live segmentation, but only on certain images, not in the kind where you can scroll through your whole image stack. And this was given with Elastic. Elastic also have different options for segmentation. These sigmas is basically the weighing of how much of the color should be considered, how much of the edges and textures should be considered. And it's really helpful when you have an increasing complexity in your sample. For example, your sample is already complex by the target material. It might have dendritic structures, so it's already prone to partial volume effect. Plus, then you crack your samples and you basically induce another microstructure into your image. And these two microstructures will then compete with each other. And with Elastic, I could segment in a, at least physically, for me, meaningful way. 100% recommendation on that. Then the next thing that was challenging is whether or not I should use watershed segmentation or not. So for now, if I go back one slide, So now we at least know which phases are target and matrix. And technically with convex hull, we can also find out our cracks. And if we reassemble our fragments, we can also find out our fracture surface. But when it comes to analyzing our target phase, for example, this purple phase, how big it is, what shape it might have, and so on, you see it's still touching each other, even though it's cracked. So with touching particles, we usually use watershed segmentation to separate them so that we can analyze them. The downside of watershed segmentation is, well, for example, the way how the distance map works in 3D is perfect for spherical shaped particles, since the distance to the neighboring particle is measured in a spherical way. And by deleting the touching, well, neck between two particles, you will lose volume. And you might either over segment or under segment. So you lose a lot of volume or less volume. And this can also influence what kind of shape and size of your fragments or target mineral you will have. So in principle, if I don't use watershed segmentation, I have connected, for now, it's only the target phase that we are looking at. So the purple phase that we segmented. With watershed segmentation, we have, well, single target phase objects. And this is not the only thing that we will create. We also have a lot of options in what kind of watershed segmentation we want to use. And I also looked into this, since fragmentation is a purely, let's say, mechanical way to induce some changes into your sample. And these mechanical changes now are on an image and might be processed in a non-physical way. So I tried to separate the touching objects, hopefully in a physical way, with image processing tools. And I was trying different algorithms in watershed. So there was chessboard, city block, and all these Euclidean methods. And they look quite difficult or complicated, but it's not really that case. For example, there are some numbers behind 111, for example. This means what kind of weighing you put. And the first, second, and third number, I will just explain to you why this is relevant and why the weighing is relevant. So for example, this is the first number, and this is the second number, and this is the third number. And in the first, in chessboard, for example, we have, in city block, sorry, we have 111 weighing, which means it has the weighing of the, so that the connections between two pixels will be now conveyed. The first number will consider the orthogonal neighbors, which are the neighbors that really touch the sides of your pixel. The next one are the diagonal neighbors, and the third number will consider the cube diagonal neighbors. And based on how big this number is, the more weighing there will be to separate these kinds of neighbors. So I was trying them out, and in the picture they seem to look the same for me. It's always colorful, and I don't have a sharp eye enough to know which one might be correct. So I was checking the graphs, and also I was checking many publications as well. And basically most watershed segmentations tend to use either one of these, oh sorry, can you see? Yeah, one of these, which is city block or chessboard, because it does not use that much computation time. Well, chessboard is the one that creates the biggest particles virtually, basically, and city block creates the smallest particles, even though it's the same image. And the Euclidean watershed algorithms overlap with each other. And by the way, the Euclidean ones are also used by mathematicians when they want to use watershed segmentation. It seems to consider the physical aspects of separating fragments or particles much better than our other algorithms. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's better. If you have to choose it, and if you use watershed, try to check if it's an Euclidean algorithm that is used. So I also have a... Yes?
Cheng?
Yes.
I see that it's already 12:30, so I don't know how many slides you have, but yeah, so.
Yeah, I can just skip
maybe
this
leave
part.
some time for questions. Okay.
Yes, yes. Okay, I will be fast now, very fast now. So you can also segment your fragments, and there's a nice tool called IPSDK. It's a quite new tool, and it can also consider machine learning algorithms, and you can even change some of the machine learning algorithms in there. So if you want to influence the physical part of it, feel free to use IPSDK. I used it for my fragment-wise segmentation. Also, me and a collaboration partner of the University of Ulm, he's a mathematician. He wrote his own watershed segmentation so that he could, well, reassemble my fragments again. So I did the fragment segmentation together with him, and he wrote the algorithm to reassemble it. And then we transferred it onto my sample. And that's where we can find out where our fracture surface lays within our sample. And that's also how we find out whether or not my target material influences where my fracture propagates or not. And we can even quantify locally and globally how much of our target material is actually fractured, what kind of fracture is it. And we can also describe how our breakage will happen. Okay, so now just a small peek what I did with all this information. I had particle characterization. I built a new descriptor because I had to do a correlation between the microstructure, the breakage, and liberation. Then we had a diagram, a multi-dimensional diagram on these three things. Also, we transferred all of these knowledge onto further microstructures of slags that we could use. And we also built a new or more new 3D liberation descriptors globally and locally. And on the side, I had a really nice partnership with Matthäus, for example. He wanted to crush his silica foams, and he came to our institute and had a nice time within the Excite network cluster. Then what I scanned and what I analyzed concerning microstructure was used for DEM simulations. This is a collaboration with Berlin. And we also characterized when our target material comes in clusters, not just combined as one target material. Now it's multiple ones within a bigger, well, agglomeration of minerals, and how we can analyze this one. Okay, with this, I come to an end of my presentation. thank you for listening, and I'm open for Christmas and questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chang. Very clear, I think, a lot of tips and tricks indeed, and hope they will help our audience. So please, if you would like to ask Chang a question, please raise your hand and I will give you the floor, or put your questions in the chat or Q&A box. But in the meantime, I really have a question. So I was just wondering, so how does the sample size or geometry influence fracture behavior and image clarity, maybe even with these tips and tricks? So how does that influence them, do you think?
Well, usually the bigger the sample, the more comminution, crushing energy you need. And the bigger the sample, the worse the image quality, if you want to capture the whole sample and nothing just inside of the sample. So if you use a big sample, usually you compromise on resolution of the finer structures, which can be the quark network. So I will always recommend the smaller the sample if you really want to be deep into fractures and breakage, then the sample should be small as possible.
So you would say that you would even kind of fix the geometry or make it in such a way that it's best suited for this kind of technique. Is that what you are implying, or?
It really depends on what you want to analyze. And if your sample is heterogeneous, for example, my sample has at least 2 components. If the smaller component is relevant for your analysis, then your sample needs to be as small as possible if your smaller component is too fine. I hope you guys understand what I mean. But with fine structures in your big sample might just look homogeneous. And then you might quark it, but you don't know why the fracture propagation looks like this.
Okay, thank you. Very clear. So I have a question from Bastien Walter. Please come in.
Yes, hello.
Bastien.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Hi.
we can.
Hello.
Thank you very much for the presentation. You talk a lot about particles and especially watershed segmentation of particles, but I was wondering, because you presented different softwares and tools, do you have any recommendation if I would like to segment fractures and labelize fractures? Because usually when we segment a data set, when we have an interconnected fracture set, it can be tricky, it can be difficult to analyze each fracture, to know its length and aperture and different properties of one fracture. So I don't know if you have any recommendation about the labelization of fractures to have information for each one.
If you want to segment fractures or cracks, I would recommend Elastic, to be honest. It's really easy to use, it's free, and it has a live update, and you can correct your segmentation algorithm. You can even save your segmentation algorithm and do batch processing. And all the others, usually you need a better laptop. Or they just, are just really bad in their results. I'm really confident with Elastic if you don't want to create your own segmentation algorithm.
Okay.
For quacks.
Great. I will try this one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, also many
Bastien.
tutorials.
That's very handy, a lot of tutorials. So we have another question here from Pavel. Please come in.
Yes. Hello, thank you. Thank you very much for a very nice presentation. I would like to ask you are using the compression stage from Deben company?
Yes, I'm using from Deben, yes.
Yeah, so I'm a bit curious because I've never seen it like in practice. So how easy is it to operate? I've at least heard that it's maybe a bit not so much user friendly, and also I'm asking like if you can adjust the force precisely on your samples, or is it difficult with this kind of stage?
So about user friendliness, I never thought about it, if it's user friendly or not, so I cannot really answer you. I just, open it and use it. And yeah, I would not say that it's user unfriendly. It might be just, I think, I don't know the English word for it, but it's like spartanic. It's very straightforward. You just open screws and mount your sample in and screw it again, and then you mount it into the CT.
And
Yeah,
about like the precision of the strength, like can you adjust like exact number of newtons or?
Yes, within 5,000 newtons. I would say it's quite precise. So the fluctuation is between, I would say, minus 0.5 and 0, maybe 0.2, but it's not much than that. So if you need to break something at 2 Newton, then yes, it's not precise. If your sample breaks at, I don't know, 500 Newtons, then I would say it's perfect.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. Also, you can set the force onto a certain level, and it will hold the force as long as you want. It's flexible.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Pavel, for your question. So I see we went a little bit over time. Apologies for that, but I did see quite a number of people that really liked the presentation, Chang. So great job. So I don't see any more questions. If you do have, oh, I see that somebody has. So there's Bastien Walter. So I see here that Lisa Eberhard has shared something for you in the chat. For the fracture orientation and other metrics, you could maybe use statistical descriptors. A PhD in our group tried it with veins, which are in principle also just planar features. So please, there is a link there that you can check. So I don't know whether you have already found that in the chat. Yes, thank you very much, Lisa, for sharing that with everybody.
Thank you, Lisa.
Indeed, thanks. So if there are no further questions, if there are questions, please feel free to, of course, email us or email Chang as well. I'm just inviting everybody to email you, Chang. I don't know whether you like it, but feel free.
Yes, I don't know if you guys have my email address, but feel free to email me.
Well, it's on here actually. It's on your slides.
Ah, yes, that's true. Okay, feel free to email me.
Fantastic. Okay, so thank you very much. I'd like to thank Chang very much. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation to make it really insightful, all of the pitfalls and the tips and tricks for this wonderful technique. And I thank you all for being here and watching this webinar and for all of your questions. And from us, I just would like to say a happy end of the year. How do you say? A happy holiday season coming up, and I hope to see you again in the new year with all upcoming webinars in the In-situ Academy webinar series. So thank you very much, and have a great day. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.